Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Essential Works for Beginners by Prokofiev, the great Russian composer from the first half of the 20th century, who wrote so many delightful pieces that immediately slid into the repertoire. You know, when people say that there is no great classical music being written anymore, etc., 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 and so forth, I just point to the beginning of the 20th century, when people just don't realize how many important and marvelous works were actually composed. I mean, they're not that old. They really weren't. And there's lots of music being written today. What are those repertory pieces going to be? What are the works that people will be playing, 100 years hence? We don't know. We don't know right away. We can't know. But they're out there. I know they're out there, and talks like this make me very optimistic about the fact that however crazy things are and difficult it may be, however foggy our vision may be right now, that the results will take care of themselves. The clarity will emerge eventually. So Prokofiev, what a wonderful composer. Oh my, he wrote so much good music, but I have 7 pieces here. And the one that isn't here on the list, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, because it's not really an essential work for beginner. It's one of those works that has gone beyond even its composer, and that's Peter and the Wolf. You know, everyone knows the story, right? One day, Peter opened the gate and went out into the big green meadow. Da 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 da, and he saw a little bird. And there was a duck swimming around in the pond. And the little cat was trying to catch the bird. And his grandpa's grumpy and says, "Oh, don't go out. The wolf's running around." You know, and Peter is the strings, and the birdie is the flute, and the oboe is the duck, and the clarinet is the cat, and the wolf is the 3 horns. Boom, bum 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 bum, and a cymbal roll, and there are hunters, da dum bum bum ba dum bum bum ba da 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 da, and Peter catches the wolf, rolling his rope down, and the hunters catch them, and he eats the duck, but the duck isn't dead because the wolf was so hungry and hasty at eating the duck that he swallowed her whole. So she's in there going, yeah, yeah, da, 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 yeah, very mournfully. But there you go. So that's Peter and the Wolf, and you already know what it is. I mean, it's such a popular children's classic that, we don't even have to talk about it in connection with Prokofiev, do we? And it's not a serious work in the sense that it's beautifully written. It's gorgeously written. I played timpani. I was the hunters. The timpani, yum, ba-da-da-da-dum, bum, 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 ba-da-da-da-dum, bang, boom. It was wonderful. But, you're not going to play that every 10 minutes and listen to it as an absolute piece of music. Although there is a suite, by the way, an orchestral suite. Okay, so that's Peter and the Wolf. Now, heavy-duty pieces of music for beginners. We begin with Symphony No. 5, Prokofiev's most popular symphony after No. 1, which is the classical symphony, which we'll talk about in a few pieces. It's a big, romantic, sort of wartime piece written around the time of World War II. It's exciting. It has wonderful tunes. It has a scary, elegiac, soulful, slow movement. It has a terrifying central climax, a happy finale, unforgettable melodies. It's just a beautiful symphony, a big, beautiful Russian romantic symphony. If you like Tchaikovsky, you're going to love Prokofiev's Fifth. It's just a terrific work. Next, Piano Concerto No. 3, his most popular piano concerto. It also has amazing tunes. It sparkles. I mean, the piano writing just glitters. It's got lots of notes. It's very virtuosic. And it has a theme and variations central movement that it's a wonderful march. Dum ba da ya da 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 dum ya 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 ya. It's full of that sort of witty, wrong note romanticism, we call it. It's a beautiful tune, but it has spice in the form of unexpected notes here and there that give the melody a slightly awkward, clunky quality that's very endearing. And a lot of his best music is like that. So the third piano concerto, these are enormously appealing works that will strike you on first listening. You're in great shape. And if you want something big and noisy and screamy, go for his cantata, Alexander Nevsky. This is based on a film score, the Serge Eisenstein film of the same name. And Prokofiev turned it into a cantata. It's about Nevsky's heroic fight against the invaders who are trying to invade Mother Russia. You can go watch the movie. There was a big deal a few years ago when they re-recorded the complete original soundtrack, which is much longer and more diffuse than the cantata version of it. And it's lots of fun, and you can watch the movie. It's not long. It's like an hour and a bit, 15 minutes or so, with the complete score. And most of it is just this enormous battle, because Eisenstein was, famous for his epic crowd scenes. And these people just hack at each other for half an hour while the music's going crazy. It's so much fun. And this cantata is so immediately enjoyable. It alternates instrumental with choral movements. And the battle on the ice is one of the great cinematic battle scenes in the history of music. It's just phenomenal. And then we come to, this is so easy, you see. Prokofiev, he just goes down easy. Well, it depends what you pick, actually. We have to talk about that in a minute. The classical symphony, his Symphony No. 1, one of his earliest works. It was a graduation exercise from the conservatoire, the Leningrad and Moscow Conservatory, whichever one he was at. He did that in his first piano concertos, his early works. And it's just delightfully fun, full of character and charm and great tunes. And it's only about 15 minutes long. It's his version of what a Haydn symphony would have been had Haydn been writing after the turn of the 20th century. And it's incredibly tuneful and delightful and luscious and wonderful, and I keep saying that. Lieutenant Kijé. Well, if you saw Woody Allen's film, Love and Death, or whatever it was called, it began with Lieutenant Kijé. It's another film score that he turned into a delightful suite. Now, there are two versions, one with vocal singing in it, and one where the vocal parts are played by instruments. I would not go with the vocal version. We've had this discussion already. We don't need to have it again, folks. We've had it already. Some people like to hear the vocal songs. The words are stupid and irrelevant, and they work in the context of the movie. But for the suite, I think you just want to hear the actual music. It has in the middle a troika. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's a sleigh ride. Da 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 dum ba da da dum da 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 dum ya da 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 dum ba ya da 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 dum ba da dum bum ba. There you go. I did it. And you can hear all of these pieces on YouTube. You can find recommendations for recordings at classicstoday.com or in the videos I've done about these pieces. I did a video about Lieutenant Kijé and the piano concertos and the Fifth Symphony and Alexander Nevsky. We've talked about all these pieces. So you can follow it from there. This is just a list of recommended things. Now, Lieutenant Kijé was also a movie. It was about a movie about a clerical error that invents Lieutenant Kijé, which means nothing or nobody or something. And they have to invent all of these stories about his heroic exploits because they think this guy really exists, but he doesn't. And so, that's what it's about. It's a comedy and it's lots of fun. Finally, they kill him because they have to do something. So they kill him off in the final movement. Then we have another piano concerto, No. 2. Now, this is a tougher piece by Prokofiev, a little more steely, a little harder edged, a little bit more dissonant, but exciting as all hell. Oh my goodness. It has no real slow movement. It opens with a slowish movement with a beautiful tune that culminates in one of the most difficult and crazy and insane solo piano cadenzas that brings back the first theme of the first movement. And then it has a very, very fast toccata, a touch piece that's in constant fast notes. It's just a couple minutes long. And then two other very interesting movements in no particular, no particular order in terms of whether they should be fast or slow or anything else. They just are what they are. And it has 4 movements in this concerto, not the usual 3. It's a very, very adventurous and incredibly powerful work, and it's becoming more popular by the minute. You know, Prokofiev's most famous piano concerto was his 3rd, but people have discovered the 2nd, and they've been saying, whoa, where has this been all my life? This is amazing. And it is. So give that a shot and see what you think. And finally, last but not least, we have Romeo and Juliet, either the complete ballet or one of the 3 suites taken from the ballet. It is one of the great classical ballets, possibly the greatest after Tchaikovsky. You know, the 3 great Tchaikovsky ballets are Swan Lake, Sleeping Beauty, and The Nutcracker. Prokofiev wrote 3 as well. He wrote Romeo, well, he wrote many more than that. He wrote 1-act ballets, short ballets, but his big ballets were Romeo and Juliet, Cinderella, and then The Stoneflower, his last one. But Romeo and Juliet is the popular one. It has some of the best tunes of the 20th century, amazing dances. It's incredibly fun to listen to. The complete ballet has a lot of repetition. It's about 2.5 hours of music. It's a lot of music. It's a big, big work, and the balcony scene is just the most wonderful love music. The scenes at the end, you know, Romeo and Juliet's grave and the death of the lovers, they're just scorchingly, agonizingly heartfelt and beautiful and sad and gripping. I mean, there's folk dancing, there's the ball, Romeo and Juliet meet with the big Knight's dance, that thing that was like lots of commercials. It was car commercials. It was perfume commercials. It's really an amazing work. And if you know these works, you're in great shape for Prokofiev. Now, I have not talked about his solo piano music. And the reason for that is because I really find that the solo piano music, and Prokofiev was a pianist, and he wrote a volume of wonderful solo piano music, including 9 really powerful piano sonatas, but they contain some of his gnarliest and most difficult music. And that's something that I really would suggest you hold off on until you get to know these works initially. And then you can explore his other music once you know his basic style. Prokofiev himself defined his style. He said it consisted of sardonicism, sarcasm, you know, the bitter, sardonic, humorous, grotesque, exaggerated element. Then there was the lyrical, romantic element. And then there was what he called sort of the toccata, steely element, the virtuosic, rapid notes kind of style, especially in his piano music. And those are the things that you'll hear when you listen to him. Each work has its own mix. There are also operas. There's lots of music. Really lots of music. But these 7 works will really get you going and give you a wonderful entree into his music, after which you should feel free to explore at your own leisure. And for those of you who have other suggestions, I know, you know, these essential lists, as I've said before, we're not adding to them. I'm not looking for suggestions as to what you would prefer to be on the list or what you would add to the list. The list is the list. That's it. Because I think when people get started, it's worth saying this every few hundred lists of when we do this, it's worth saying you've got to limit what you're doing, and you've got to take your time, and you do it a little bit at a time at your own leisure, and feel free to go wherever your imagination takes you. The point of these lists is to give you a place to start, but not to overload you with too many works and too many options. If you discover them on your own, fabulous. Go ahead, do what you like. It's your life. It's your ears. It's your listening time. And so it's fine. It's perfectly fine. But start here. And I think you'll be in very, very good shape. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.